All right, what's good, YouTube and Facebook, the live stream? We are back here for Vernon Speak Sports Auburn. Want to thank Skylar R for being here already, James Colburn for being here already. We got a lot to talk about. Joey Gatewood actually decides to leave the team and hit the transfer portal. We all know about that good old transfer portal. When things are not working out where you are, hit the transfer portal. Gonna wait for a few more people to come in, man. It is a busy Wednesday afternoon, man. A kind of dreary day outside. Hope you all are having a good day. For some of you all who are working the second shift, more power to you, man. I hate the second shift. War Eagle. Like I said, Joey Gatewood leaving the transfer portal. Got some other good stuff that we can talk about, though. Auburn currently the number 11 team in the country, taking on Ole Miss this coming week. They say Ole Miss is actually pretty good against the run. They don't score many points. They average about 25 points per game. They only score, well, they average giving up. Yeah, they average 25 points per game, but they give up 27 points per game. So Ole Miss definitely in a little trouble when they come to Jordan-Hare Stadium this weekend. It's 6 o'clock Central Time and 7 o'clock Eastern Time. Want to give a shout out to everybody out there, War Eagle. All right, so got about 10 folks in here. Hell, that's pretty good for an impromptu live stream, especially around 4 o'clock when people are still kind of hanging around either at work or stuck in traffic. Want to give a shout out to the SEC. Still got some teams trying to sneak into bowl eligibility. Talking maybe Arkansas, Texas A&M. Without having the information in front of me, I'm not sure. I'm pretty sure Kentucky's trying to sneak in. Ole Miss actually trying to sneak in. A big one in the ACC this week is Miami takes on Florida State. That is usually a pretty good rivalry, but both of those teams are actually struggling. Big shout out to the hapless ACC. Only thing over there is Clemson, and they are hurting in the polls because of the lackluster play of their ACC brethren. Want to welcome everybody here to, oh man, Kelsey Gardner said, finally caught you on your live stream. Hell yeah, I appreciate you catching me, because I caught y'all red-handed at 4 o'clock this afternoon. Michael, Aaron, Joey should have been given opportunities, but Gus mishandled this. Now, Aaron, I want you to leave in the next comment, how do you think Gus mishandled this situation? Other than, I really think the way he pushed Joey Gatewood back to the sideline, I think that was a little shaky. I wouldn't have. I'll say this. I hope that I wouldn't have handled a player like that. But as far as the behind the scenes things, I don't know. I really don't know how what's going on, Ernest Brown. I really don't know how Gus Malzahn mishandled that situation outside of what I saw there. I'm so utterly disgusted with Gus right now. I can't even bother with the rest of the year. This team has too much talent to be such a disappointment. I'm going to highlight this comment because this is a sentiment of the Auburn fan base right now. They feel like, okay, so much, mishandling of the talent and disappointment and all this other stuff. Let's rewind this thing all the way back to I'll even say 2 weeks prior to the Oregon game. That's when all of the fans, I'm talking about all the guys like me who've been doing this thing since January, following recruiting and all this other stuff. And then all the casual fans, all the fans kind of combusted a week before the Oregon game. Okay, so they all thought about it. Well, how do you think Auburn would turn out this year? I said, just being casually based on what we had talent-wise, based on the schedule, I said at best we'd probably be 9-3, and still at this point at 6-2, we're still on pace for that. Now, I want, just like I did on the last stream, I just want to know, show of hands, how many of you all thought that we'd even be 6-2 at this point? Don't worry about who we lost to, things like that. But do you think, based on what you thought you knew about Auburn prior to the season, do you think we would be 6-2 at this point? Ranked number 11 in the country, with I'm talking about a lot of crazy stuff has to happen, but with a crazy situation to where if Auburn wins out, not the BCS, but the college football playoff at least has to, even if Auburn doesn't get in, they're probably going to be 5 at worst, has to start to revamp. Okay, how do we change this policy to where everybody who's good gets in? Let me go back up. I see some folks that have commented after that. We got, in my opinion, Gus dropped the ball when it comes to the competition this season. Think this will affect the recruiting class? Well, actually, you kind of cut into one of my points in this. Auburn, this won't affect the recruiting class because everybody didn't come to Auburn to be a quarterback. And I really think, if anything, this kind of adds to the urgency of Auburn to have to sign another quarterback, because really this thing was inevitable anyway, because you talk about a true freshman and a redshirt freshman. They're basically on the same level, right? So you can't expect a guy like Joey Gatewood to just sit on the bench and hope that, say, Bo Nix gets hurt, because it was clear that Gus Malzahn wasn't going to put him in the game. But I think the way this adds to a different level of urgency, to where I think Gus and his staff has to go after a pretty decent quarterback over the offseason. Joey win that. Nope, I don't believe Joey will win the Heisman. I don't think this is the same situation as, say, Jalen Hurts and, Tua Tagovailoa. I think Tua Tagovailoa and Jalen Hurts were pretty, establishedly talented players. I don't think this is synonymous with that situation. No more do I think it's synonymous with other things that have happened in the country. I don't think Joey Gatewood will go anywhere else and ultimately be a Heisman candidate, like anywhere, just in my opinion. Was Bo Nix inconsistent in the Florida game? He should have been given opportunity. When Bo Nix was inconsistent in the Florida game and LSU games, he should have been given the opportunity in both games. I will agree to say yes and no at the same time. One, we don't know if the offensive line, let's just say if the offensive line would have played a little bit more consistently and given Bo Nix or whoever the quarterback is a formidable chance to have that type of offensive line leadership, then I would be, if they're still screwing up, then put Joey Gatewood in. But I don't know if Bo Nix, even though as terrible as he did in favorable situations, the offensive line at times was so inconsistent, you can't really tell if it was the offensive line or if it's both. Now, let's just say Auburn goes into this Georgia game, for example, and the offensive line is playing mistake-free, giving Bo Nix every opportunity possible, then backlashing, then going post facto. I'll say, Joey Gatewood had a chance. I'm done with Gus. I've had his back since he got there. Losing Gatewood is the final straw. Now, what I want to know is, how is losing Gatewood the final straw when he didn't have him to begin with? He didn't trust him to play to begin with. If anything, my thing with Joey Gatewood is the fact that at least now, Joey Gatewood is not as big of a distraction at this point, to where when things go down, we always have Joey Gatewood to fall back on. I'm kind of glad this little saga of Gatewood is over. We were right where I thought we would be as far as record. Baker Mayfield, Kobe Hudson. Yeah, man, Kobe Hudson's having a monster year over there in Midwestern Georgia. Both struggle, great point. It was still worth the attempt to spark the team. See, when you're coaching football, or when you're a coach, period, or a manager or whatever, you're going with your game plan. I think Gus Malzahn is a coach that decided, hey, I'm going with my game plan. I don't need a spark. If it ain't working, I'm going to keep trying this thing until it works. And then you get a situation where you get an opportunity, and then, one of your veterans, Caleb Kim, fumbles a snap, loses 30 yards on one snap. So you it's really hard. I see where Gus is coming from. It's really hard to pinpoint the quarterback as the bottleneck when you have so many of your leaders around you that are not really giving you opportunity. All right, so we got think they told Gus that he would have another season with him having a true freshman at quarterback. Maybe. Let's see what Kane Tiger is talking about. Yep, this is 60% on the offensive line. We know it because I told y'all I'm gonna get some glasses. That's why I'm squinting. My bad, y'all. We know it because they had the exact same problem with Stidham last year. Yeah, the offensive line, I was trying to be on their boat, but the offensive line really, really disappointed me in this football game. In a game like this, I expect your senior leadership to really be focused and not necessarily be the bottleneck, and they were a complete bottleneck in this game. Every time some rhythm got going, the offensive line was the ones that really, really set the team back. And I was just absolutely disappointed in their play, both physically and as far as mental errors, man. It was absolutely disappointing. All right, so we talked about the whole Joey Gatewood, Bo Nix thing. Just really, really disappointed that from a timing standpoint, it wasn't a situation where Bo Nix could have say had been a 2-year starter and say Joey Gatewood as a freshman. Then you could kind of understand. Then you could kind of see where there's a chance for Joey Gatewood to stay. But when it's a situation where you have a true freshman and a redshirt freshman basically on the same level, you just can't ask these guys to stay and go ahead and let Joey Gatewood get in the portal and just move on from there. Now, going into this week against Ole Miss, I think Auburn, to give whoever the quarterback is, Cord Sandberg, I don't give a damn who the quarterback is, to give the quarterback a chance to be successful, I think Auburn has to go back to what has made them successful in the past. And this is where the offensive line has definitely got to help out. Auburn has to go back to the run-heavy portion of their offense that they used to have in the past, to give Bo Nix a possibility to have that balance. I just think, given that you have an opportunity to beat a team like Georgia, who I think Auburn has the defense to stop, who we're going to talk about in just a second, but Auburn has definitely got to go back to the commitment of the running game, or else this isn't going to work anyway. Because if you have this thing one-dimensional, with Bo Nix as the primary passer, having to throw for over 30-something passes, you can forget about it. They might sneak up and beat Georgia, but definitely not going to beat Alabama with a one-dimensional type of approach offensively. I really think, especially with guys like DJ Williams, Cam Martin, and not Anthony Schwartz, but Harold Joyner, all those guys back there. I think Auburn definitely has an opportunity to really, really accentuate this running game on a level that they just haven't done up to this point. Sean Shivers is a guy that I think needs to get his hands on the ball a lot more often. Now, let's talk about this Auburn defense. Now, anybody that knows me personally knows that I love defense. And I love the strategy that I saw from the Auburn defense against LSU. They ran what was ultimately called a 3-1-7 type defense. Basically, what that means for some of our casual fans out there, you got 3 down linemen, basically 1 guy in the middle, and then you have 7 guys kind of umbrelling these things. Because if you notice, you had the Auburn guys creeping up, then they'll creep back. That's just somewhat of an umbrella. What they were trying to do is they were trying to prevent the big play. Now, here's the psychology behind this. As good as LSU is offensively, that they're going to have a certain level of success, and they did. They had over 500 yards total. But don't be fooled by the yard amounts. Here's what you need to really be looking at when you see the 3-1-7 and how it was effective against LSU. Number one, coming into this football game, LSU's quarterback, Joe Burrow, was 12 He averaged 12.2 yards every time he threw the football. Against Auburn, only 7.6 yards every time he threw the football. Do you know a 5-yard differential over a course of a game? That adds up big time. Number two, this is one that I really love. LSU, Joe Burrow was 79% completion percentage. Against Auburn, he was 76 completion percentage, which is still pretty good. But then when you look at this, the 3% that Joe Burrow did not complete passes proved to be really costly. One of them even cost an interception. That's why that stat is so profound. Now, let's go back to what everybody talked about in the media talked about what LSU's tendency to make big plays and all this different stuff. All right, so going into this particular game, LSU, when they made big plays, averaged 56 yards for their longest play of the game. In addition to multiple other, say 30, 40-yard passes per game, in this particular game, their longest play was 45, but their average longest play after the 45 was about 17 yards. That's why you can let the LSU fans fool you and tell you, hey, it was because of the rain. The field wasn't. Nah, it was the strategy. Auburn didn't care about them 500 yards. What Auburn cared about was condensing what LSU does down to a manageable size. You can't manage a team that has only 21 minutes of time of possession, but they still score 42 points. Florida against LSU allowed 42 points with only 21 minutes of time of possession. Auburn actually forced LSU to win the time of possession game, 36 minutes of time of possession, but only 23 points. They made LSU work for every single yard, every single opportunity that they got. Big shout out to the Auburn defense. Look very much forward to seeing what the strategy will be this week. Ole Miss has a quarterback that likes to run the ball a little bit. Will be very interesting to see how that game is approached. I also want to see offensively how Auburn approaches this. I really want to see a much more run heavy with the Auburn with the Auburn offense. And also, you got to give a shout out to Derrick Brown. Derrick Brown had one particular play in the red zone on the minus end for LSU where he literally pushed the offensive lineman into Joe Burrow for the sack. I thought that was one of the plays of the game, which is one of the reasons why Derrick Brown is up for a couple of defensive lineman awards within the NCAA. Also, Owen Pappo is up for one of the freshman All-American awards, and DJ Williams, because of his 130-yard effort, was the SEC freshman of the week. I don't have the energy to say War Eagle. I'm praying we can win out. Now was very confident. Now I'm iffy. Who is going to back up? Well, doesn't matter who the backup is. He wasn't going to put him in anyway. But I feel you. Who's the backup going to be? Hell, put me in. I can throw a little bit. The defense will ball out. As a matter of fact, I'm a defensive guy. I really enjoy watching Auburn play defense. That performance on Saturday was one of my enjoyable moments watching Auburn play. Now, really, truth be told, if I could be transparent, I really don't. I watch Auburn's offense to the point that I just hope they just don't screw up too bad. But really, my thing is defense. I really enjoy watching Auburn on defense, especially this team. They're so diverse. They're so athletic on defense that they're just very, very fun to watch. And one guy even said, why do you prefer? Both of them are statistically equal, but why do you prefer Florida's defense over? Why do you prefer Auburn's defense over Florida? Now, Why do you prefer Florida's defense? I mean, Auburn's defense over Florida. Well, the reason why I prefer Auburn's defense is because there's so much you can do with Auburn's defense. First of all, you got guys that can interchange position wise. Florida, if they go down, that's it. They've been struggling without Zanuga and some of the other guys that have been out. But Auburn, if they suffer an injury, they're good to go. They're too deep in most situations. And when you try to run a defense, kind of like what Kevin Steele attempted against LSU, Auburn actually has the personnel to do it. Did Auburn have the personnel to do it last year? Hell no, he didn't. But he knows he's got it. He knows he can put Sherwood and Smoke Monday at safety and move. He can move Daniel Thomas and Jeremiah Denson up to help the linebackers out. So there's so much that these guys can do. That's what gives me the confidence that Auburn would definitely have a opportunity, once they get to the Georgias and the Alabamas of the world. You guys ought to be looking forward to that. All you guys talking about writing off the season and all this other stuff, to me, that's nonsense, but everybody is entitled to their opinion. Want to give a shout out to my man, Brenton Haynes. If you're into religion and talking about the Bible, please go to his channel. Let's call him too. Definitely give a good word. I want to give a shout out to Teron Kilpatrick. Appreciate it. Want to give a shout out to Brian Palmer, War Eagle. Thanks for doing these streams. You provide great comment and that much appreciated. Keep up the good work. I really appreciate it, man. And, the thing about it is this is not work. I talk about Auburn football all the time. I just definitely appreciate you guys working so hard to find these live streams where I'm talking trash about my Auburn Tigers, especially when I give Bo Nix the business. I really like Bo Nix, but I really want him to be the Bo Nix that we need him to be for us to be successful. Want to give a shout out to Michael Aaron with the $5 super chat. Hell yeah, appreciate it. $5, I love it. All right, so like I said before, Auburn taking on Ole Miss this weekend, a game that Auburn should win. But there's some things I'm going to be looking for, baby. I'm looking for that defense to continue the intensity. I would actually love for this defense, as good as they are, to get a shutout this week. That's just my thing. I don't want Ole Miss to even cross the 50-yard line. And for all those people out there that saying that this is a defense that won't be remembered, I would say you are resoundingly wrong. I will always remember the performance of Auburn versus LSU. That will always be a legendary moment for me as an Auburn Tiger fan and sports analysis. I just really think that Auburn needs to make this count. At least splitting Georgia and Alabama. Give these seniors something to be proud of. So y'all keep joking on court, but the 27-year-old can throw. Maybe so, man. I saw some of his high school highlights. I was like, man, this dude. He like they say in the South, he ain't that bad. So we'll see how Joey Gatewood does. Bo Nix is Sean White 2.0. I don't know if Bozo Nix is Sean White. I promised myself I'm not going to do it. I promised a couple of other Auburn fans that I'm not going to go in on Bo Nix. He's a true freshman now. We have to protect our true freshman. Okay. All right, guys. Man, I always enjoy talking to y'all. Wasn't he in high school like 8 years ago? Yeah. That bad. Wasn't in high school 8 years ago. 27, let's see. 27. So, nah, man, he was a freshman in high school 11 years ago. Now, it just depends on where his birthday falls. Now, if his birthday falls at a certain point, I don't know. Yeah, between 10 and 11, though. Between 10 and 11. So, I mean, yeah, that's pretty rough. And, yeah, man, Bo Nix is not a true freshman anymore. Yeah, we're done with that. Now, here's the thing. The reason why we won't let Bo Nix off the hook with the whole true freshman thing is because you played 6 ranked teams in the end. you've seen a lot. So no, you ain't no true freshman no more. Let's be honest, we have our entire lives, and we can tell quarterback has it when he doesn't. See, y'all are trying to get me to talk bad about Bo Nix. I'm not going to talk bad about Bo Nix. I did that enough earlier this week. Folks got mad, man. They're like, how dare you talk about my quarterback? He doesn't suck. He only, just because he only throws 41% of his passes complete against top 25 teams doesn't mean he's terrible. Oh, no, he's just a true freshman. That's all. He's not terrible. It's just a true freshman. Where's the jet sweep been? Man, we got to get that back going for sure. Gus wants the Pinson Valley Bowl, but it ain't happening. But next year, watch out. I hope so, man. I wouldn't mind that Pinson Valley just sneaking out in a couple of weeks. True freshman thing is old now. Yeah, I'm sick of that. Sick of that. All right, guys, man, I really appreciate you, War Eagles. I hate when people say put an S at the end of War Eagles. Y'all ever had that? The guys, people put S at the end of War Eagle? No, man, that's not how it works. It's War Eagle, not War Eagles. Okay. Once again, it's Kennard Vernon Stewart here for the podcast Talking Auburn Football. Really enjoy your comments and your intensity for these Auburn Tigers. Go ahead and subscribe to my channel for some of you Facebook people that I've live streamed to. And as always, it's great to be an Auburn Tiger, War Eagle.